I think that's the core issue is that as a society, we don't teach women to be in their empowerment. When we were growing up, your period wasn't really talked about. And, I see it all over social media that it's so normal for women not to have their periods now. And there's this one girl that popped up and she went super viral because she didn't have a period and then she wanted to get pregnant. She's like, "Oh, I think it's an issue now." And
Right.
a lot of people are just like, "What?" And
Yeah.
she's not on the path to from what I know, I don't follow her. What I saw in this brief amount of time of figuring out why don't I
Mhm.
have my periods? Obviously the doctor's answer was like, "We'll put you on Clomid, we'll get you ovulating and stuff." But you're not peeling back the layers because if you've never had a period and you're like 27, what inflammation is going on in your body to dysregulate that? What
Right. What's
pathways,
going on?
what is going on?
Yeah.
And why don't you think that might have an effect on your egg quality, or your uterine lining? And obviously, the uterine lining and all that, we can use medications to get it there, but there's nothing out there on the market right now to improve egg quality. There's no supplement, there's nothing. There's support, but the main driver of that egg quality is you and your health. And linking it back to that empowerment and getting into that flow of your innate self, I wouldn't say it's, like, essential to give birth because obviously the crackhead on the side
Right.
of the
Yeah.
street,
Yeah.
but
Right.
you then move into a conversation of what kind of future are you and your children gonna have if you are not at least aware of that. Because I think we both know as mothers and as entrepreneurs, if you don't deal with it at, your fertility stage or early on, it will slap you in the face later on.
Yeah. It's not going to go away. Like it's not going to go away because it's if you're going to try to like bypass and just go for the goal and not really like look at what's happened. Ask like what is my body like yearning for?
Mhm.
What does it want? Because it's trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
And you can't just ignore it and say, "Just give me what you want." I understand. I know that it's difficult to say. It's easier said than done, but it's trying to get your attention for a reason, and it's not going to go away even after you get the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And as we said in the beginning, we've seen this industry change over the last 5 to 10 years. And I do think that this huge shift away from mentality, because I feel like when I first started, and I don't know if you felt it too, it was definitely this kind of like wise me, here's a trigger warning before you like talk to anything about pregnancy or anything like that. And now women are just like, "Okay, I'm done with that bullshit."
Mhm.
Like, I I want to step into empowerment. I don't wanna just get pregnant anymore. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's a spectrum, right?
Right.
Everyone
There's a
and maybe
spectrum for
because
sure.
that's where I am in my head and that's how I'm speaking now. I definitely speak a very different way than when I first started this podcast, and it is that empowerment of, like, "No, there's real hard facts that you guys gotta think of beyond the 2 pink lines. It's
Mhm.
genetics, how you
Mhm.
genetically setting up your health and your child's health, right? How you gonna make it through this pregnancy? How you gonna give birth? How you gonna hit that postpartum? Because if you're ignoring the things that are trying to tell you, "Hey, I'm in survival mode," they're just gonna make it worse. Pregnancy, as
Oh yeah.
once you've been pregnant, you know how demanding that is on your body. And this is why, half of my clients are dealing with secondary infertility.
Oh yeah. I mean, in Chinese medicine, we look at it as pregnancy demands a lot of your qi and blood. And this is
Mhm,
one of the reasons why qi could look life force vitality, if somebody doesn't really know what that is. So, and blood is obviously, I mean, it's obvious, but like in Chinese medicine, it's really what transports a lot of the nutrients. And you need a healthy gut for that. So the spleen and stomach are really at the center of that.
yeah.
Spleen and stomach, even though spleen, I know in Western medicine is more like an immune thing, but it's actually a digestive thing.
Mhm,
It's what extracts the nutrients from food into the body, into the blood, so that your body's able to take from it. Like so that amazing nutrient dense blood will feed the ovaries and the follicles and support that egg quality. And so gut health, inflammation, all of that gets in the way. But even more to the core is really the energetics, because you can check off every single list and it's still not going to work.
Yeah.
Because the mind, you cannot ignore it, like your spirit, really. I don't even want to say the mind. I want to go past the mind.
Mhm.
I want to talk about your state of being. And so that's really what I talk about. And I give like very specific ways to how to, because you had mentioned something really important, the victimhood. And then there's also the sort of what is it called, toxic positivity. So
Mhm.
these are the two extremes, right?
Yep.
So you have one where I'm just going to pretend like I'm fine and like only think positive, and how realistic is that? And then I'm just, I can't do anything, it's just, this is my diagnosis, this is how I am. So it's kind of like, let's take those two extremes and kind of like find a middle ground where you are not pretending like everything's okay, because it's not.
Mhm.
Allowing yourself, being just as compassionate as you would be your best friend, somebody
Yeah.
who you really, really care for and love, like listening to them, allowing them to express themselves, not judging what they're going to say. So instead of saying just relax, so that's the kind of like toxic positivity. Oh, it's going to be fine. You wouldn't do that to your best friend if your friend's coming and talking to you. But you would also guide your best friend. If you see that they're doing something or thinking a certain way, you might reframe, the situation to give them more power. So that's where the empowerment comes in. So we have like, we tend to have both extremes, and if you just come to the middle, I feel like that's the most ideal way, and that's what will actually empower your spirit the most.
Yeah. You have to like basically live in two realities, right? The reality that things aren't okay right now and there's um issues to be resolved, but know that they can be resolved, that you have the
Exactly.
power to resolve them. And it's that consistent action that's going to create your evidence of success
And
for
just allow
you.
yourself, yeah, allow yourself to be with those feelings, because you will not stagnate and stay in those feelings if you just allow them through a way out.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is to just really allow yourself to release, validate those feelings, feel them, but don't live them, because
Yeah.
that's when emotions stagnate. And that emotional stagnation, believe it or not, I mean, emotions can take so much energy. They're not, especially the harder ones, they're not energy efficient. They will burn out your energy. And as you know, like egg cells have the most mitochondria. They need a lot of energy. You need a
Hmm.
lot of energy in order to conceive. So one of the biggest ways we can be losing energy, even though we're eating all the right things, we're doing all the right things, is by allowing ourselves to stay. And I say stay, not be, because sometimes you can go through emotions and it moves through, but to stay and live in emotions that are just constantly draining your energy.